Today I would like to give you a little bit of information on how I came to Islam. And really I found that the story that I have at coming to Islam, or Islam finding me, I'll even go into saying that Islam really found me, is not different from a lot of people who is in America that I've spoken to, or in other countries who have accepted Islam also. My story is almost word for word like their stories. And a lot of times you don't even realize in the beginning that you're actually going toward Islam. Thinking about it, I would say that my story that I remember going toward Islam began when I was in high school, either in the 11th or 12th grade. I had always been interested in religion and had been going to church, a Baptist church, and my family was into the church. I was never really fully into it myself, wholeheartedly, I don't think. But my teacher, my English teacher, gave us an assignment, a book report. And you know, usually when you do book reports when you're in school, you know, you really don't put a lot of effort into it. But for some reason on this book report, I decided to do a book report about Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And I put them in that order for a reason. Because at the time, the only thing that I knew anything about at all was Christianity, because I was going to a Baptist church and was raised in a Christian family. The place where I was from in Fayetteville, North Carolina, I did not know any Jews at all, and I knew absolutely nothing about Islam and Muslims. But I you know, when you're in the 11th grade, you try to do a report that, you know, just to turn it in. So I looked up Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, and I wrote this book report about it. And something inside of me told me that in the pure essence of these religions, that they came from the same God. And I don't know where that came from. At the time, I didn't understand where that came from or what it was about. And so I did a book report on Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And at the time, living in Fayetteville, North Carolina, of course, I didn't know any Jews or any Muslims at all. I had never come across any Jews or Muslims that I could say that I knew something about. And being in the 11th or 12th grade, I didn't know really anything about Christianity. I graduated from high school. I joined the United States Air Force. But always inside myself, there was a sort of like an emptiness, you know. And I think a lot of times in your life, you try to find something to fill that emptiness. And most people believe that it can be filled with finding a good job, you know, making a lot of money, and, you know, or with material things. And I think at that time, that's what I tried to fill it with. I bought the latest cars and clothes every week, you know, and all of the things that people do, you know, with the materialism. Then, you know, as the years passed, you know, I kept trying and trying to change my life. You know, I reached a point in my life and I said, there's something in my life has to change. I kind of reached a point and I said to myself, is life just about buying new cars or buying clothes or having a beautiful wife? Is this all life is? And at that point, something inside me said that if this is just what life is all about, just new cars, clothes, and things, then life really has no purpose and no value at all. Because as soon as you buy a new car, you want another car. As soon as you see a beautiful woman, there's another beautiful woman. So these things really have no end in them and have no real value or no real substance to them. So I was living in England at the time, and I began to go through some really, really hard times in my life. I was going through a divorce, and I used to get these really, really, really bad migraine headaches. And when I would get these migraine headaches, sometimes I would get in the shower with cold water, anything just to shock my brain or to shock myself, trying to make this headache go away. Or sometimes I would just put on my running shoes and just go running, you know, trying to get rid of this headache. And the whole time, I would just be running, or I'd be standing in the shower in the cold water, and I would just be saying, oh God, please just give me some peace. Just give me peace. And you know, my head would be pounding and pounding, and I would just say, I don't care about wealth. I don't care about any of these things. All I want is peace. Of course, at the time, I didn't know what I was asking for. You know, I was asking for relief of my headache, you know, not knowing that this relief that I was asking for was not really relief for my head, but relief for my soul, for my spirit. And I met some people at the time, and actually a friend of my family came to my dormitory room. I was living in a dormitory at the time, and he wanted to pray. And he was a Christian, and so I told him that I would pray with him, you know. And he was praying and praying, and something inside of me just would not let me release myself to this. And after the prayer, you know, he talked to me, and we talked, and he said, you know, you have to let yourself go to it. But something inside me just would not let me release to this. And then I met another friend later on who I had been working with, but we had not become close friends up until these things started happening in my life. And we were becoming very close until a certain time that person told me, they said that they had prayed or did something, and their spirit, you know, this person was a Christian, and they talked in this language a lot, that their spirit told them that they were going in a different direction than I was going in. And so our friendship kind of went in different arenas, different areas at that time. At that time, I was going through a divorce. I lost my job in the Air Force. I lost my security clearance. I was having these migraine headaches. I was living in the dormitory. You know, at the time, my state was so bad that every time I looked at a picture of my children, I just was totally depressed. I would just break out crying or whatever. So I would always leave the pictures of my children, you know, on the table, but face down so that I couldn't see them. Through this all, I kept running, trying to get rid of these headaches, and it got to the point where I would only sleep maybe an hour or two at night because I was afraid to go to sleep, because every time I would go to sleep, the headaches would come back. And so I would wake up and I would keep just asking God, please give me peace, please give me peace. I thought to myself that my life was going to change as soon as I got out of this situation. And I had put in for an assignment to go to Florida. And it so happened that I got the assignment to Florida, and I was really, really happy about going. But as fate would have it, God had other plans for me. And the assignment that I got to go to Florida was canceled. And I got an assignment to a place called Clovis, New Mexico. As soon as I got the paperwork to Clovis, New Mexico, I was thinking to myself, is New Mexico even a state? You know, I didn't know anything about this place. But I had this assignment, and I had to go to it. I tried to push it off. I tried to push it back, but it wouldn't push back. It wouldn't go away. And so I got this assignment, and I ended up having to go to this place. I had shipped my car back to the East Coast, so I drove from the East Coast to New Mexico. And when I was driving through Texas or somewhere out there west, you know, living on the East Coast, you see trees everywhere, so you can't really see for long distances. But out here, it was absolutely almost barren, hardly any trees at all. And so I would take my tripometer on my car, and I would push it and look at an object down the road, and then I would see how far it was. And sometimes the object was 5 miles or 6 miles away. You know, that's just to give you an idea of how flat the country is. I got to this place called Clovis, New Mexico, and as soon as you get out of the car, the first thing you notice is the smell of cows. And if you know the smell of cows, it's not a very pleasant smell at all. So I'm thinking to myself, you know, I went from the frying pan in where I was completely into the fire in this place that I was in. And I just thought to myself, it couldn't get any worse than this. And so, of course, my attitude and the things that have been going on in my life, you know, it was very, very bad.